Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today I'm going to be taking a look at a very interesting Bell & Ross. This is the Bell & Ross World War II Regulateur Heritage. So this is part of Bell & Ross's really one of their more interesting collections. Bell & Ross makes many interesting watches. They're mainly known for their square watches, but I feel that this is one of the most, if not the most interesting piece that they make, and that's because of the very interesting design of this piece. So if you're familiar with the overall horological world, you might have noticed right away that this watch has a regulator dial. So that actually originated on marine chronometers, and the way that it's designed is that the subdial seconds is at 12 o'clock, and then you have an hour indicator at 6 o'clock, and then this big hand here, which looks like it should be a second hand, is actually the minute hand. So it allows you to see the minutes a lot larger than any of the other measurements, and that's good when you're trying to make precise calculations like you would if you're a pilot, which is what this watch is made to kind of be for. And you also do get a rotating bezel, so using that in conjunction with the very large minute hand, you can then line it up and be able to time things very well so you can do navigational calculations. And being that this is a World War II heritage model, they designed it after something like the pilots would have used in World War II. So the World War II collection by Bell & Ross is rather interesting, as they have this model, which is the Heritage. They also then have the Officer, which is kind of a more elegant, modern take on the World War II pilot's watch, and it's kind of a little bit more dressy. And then they also have two tourbillons in this collection as well, which is a complication you do not see from Bell & Ross very much. So let's go back to this watch. So now I'm going to go over the case real quick. So the case is 49 millimeters, and you can see it's a very, very large right away, and that's that 49 millimeter size. And it also is made out of bead-blasted stainless steel, or sandblasting, whichever term you'd prefer. And the large size is made to reflect the fact that this is designed after a World War II pilot's watch, as pilot's watches in World War II were made to be very large, and that's mainly for the aspect of visibility. They're made to be extremely visible very easily so that you can quickly glance at it, as obviously when you're in war, you're not really going to, if you're in a battle or something, you're not going to have a lot of time to look at a watch. You're going to have to look at it really quick and then go.
Okay, I'll try.
So that's why these watches were also large. And they were actually, since World War II was actually still in the beginning stages of the wristwatch as a whole coming about, a lot of them were larger because the first wristwatches were converted pocket watches, so that was kind of the style of the time. So the case, as I said, it is the 49 millimeters bead-blasted stainless steel. You also get these very interesting hinged lugs right here, which are just something you don't see on a lot of watches. You can see it's on both sides. And you also can notice that you have a crown on the left side instead of the right side, and that's just to reflect how some of the watches were made back in World War II. So now, wearing this watch on the wrist, it's obviously going to be quite a large timepiece. You can see right there, I mean, it is massive. I have about a 7.5-inch wrist, so I have a larger than average wrist, and this watch takes up almost the whole thing. If you have a small wrist, this is not the watch for you. It's very, very large. So that's one thing to consider. Now, one thing though that's interesting is that these watches in World War II probably actually would have been worn on the inside of the wrist, and that's because when you're flying a plane, you can see when I have, say if my hand is on a kind of a yoke of a plane, you can see that it would actually be more beneficial to have it on the inside of the wrist than on the outside, and that's how some racing watches were designed as well. So now going with the wrist shot, the strap on this piece is a leather strap. It's got a suede texture on the top, and it's kind of an olive green to tan coloration, and it really matches the dial colors of this watch as well. So now I'll move to the dial. So the dial, as you can see, it has the patinaed indexes and hands. However, it also has this weird kind of spotted dial. You can maybe, I'm not sure if the camera is picking it up well enough, but there are kind of these lighter brown spots on the dial, and that's made to also act like a kind of faux patina. Personally, I'm not a fan of faux patinas in general. I just think that if you're making a vintage watch, you should design it like the watch would have looked back in the time when it was originally manufactured, not make it seem like it's a very old watch. So that's just kind of my personal take on vintage watches, or homage or heritage watches. So I'm not a big fan of the way they did the dial. I think it would have been better if they just did a simple matte dial and kept the patinaed indexes and hands. I think that would have been enough. So that's just kind of my take on the dial of this timepiece. But the movement overall is a BR caliber 316, and it is a self-winding movement. So it's going to be automatic. So you'll be able to wear it on your wrist, and it shouldn't as long as you're wearing it should not run out of power. It also has a 50-meter water resistance, which is good enough for if you ever get some water on it or anything, but I wouldn't really suggest swimming with this watch too heavily, as 50 meters is generally considered not quite enough to be swim-worthy. 100 meters is usually where people make that cutoff. So overall, this timepiece is one of the most interesting timepieces that Bell & Ross makes. It has a cool historical aspect to it as well. Now, the price on this piece pre-owned is $4,750, and that's here at JB Hudson Jewelers. They lent us this piece for the purposes of this review. I'll be leaving a link in the description to their website if you would like to see more details about this timepiece with regards to the sale. And so thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And when you subscribe, make sure to hit that notification bell so that you get the notifications whenever we post new videos. So thank you for watching.